It's a constant balancing act in healthcare, isn't it? Trying to get the absolute best outcomes for patients, but also, making sure the organization stays afloat, that it's sustainable. It's a challenge everyone in the field deals with.
Absolutely.
Huh.
I mean, the reality is you can't really deliver top quality care consistently, over the long term without having a stable, well-run organization behind it.
Right.
And, flip side, a healthcare organization isn't going to succeed if it's not actually giving real value and good results for its patients.
And that really brings us right to the heart of our deep dive today. Figuring out how to weave quality improvement, QI initiatives directly into a hospital's or clinic's main business strategy. We've pulled together some really interesting sources. We're looking at accreditation bodies like Joint Commission International JCI and India's NABH, the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals and Healthcare Providers.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have insights from a consultancy that actually helps with accreditation, plus some broader views on QI strategy itself.
Yeah, it's a good mix. It gives us that sort of high-level view of the principles, but also some, real practical stuff about how this alignment actually works day to day.
So our mission here really is to pull out the key insights and, maybe more importantly, the concrete steps you can take to make sure your quality improvement work isn't just off in its own silo.
Right.
We want to figure out how these efforts can become real drivers for the organization's main goals, leading to better patient care, lower costs, and just a stronger overall provider.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Why is it even so important to link QI to the business strategy? I mean, it sounds kind of obvious, but let's dig into the actual benefits.
Well, yeah, the main goal of QI is obviously better patient care, no question. But tying it to the business strategy means it's also helping the organization achieve its bigger goals. Things like maybe boosting profitability or expanding services, making sure patients are happy, which brings them back, gets referrals, and just fundamentally using resources really efficiently. Right. It's about making sure that the time, the people, the money you put into QI, it's actually helping achieve what the hospital is trying to do strategically. You don't want, great ideas just fizzling out because they don't really move the needle on the big picture.
Exactly. And this strategic focus, it also makes sure that your resources, we're talking money, staff time, maybe even new techs, they get funneled into the QI projects that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. It's maximizing ROI in the broadest sense.
That makes sense. And it feels like this focused approach would probably help with just the everyday running of the place, too.
Oh, absolutely. Streamlining how things work, getting rid of bottlenecks and waste. Those are direct wins from a strategically focused QI program. Think about projects trying to cut down hospital readmissions or making patient flow smoother or even boosting staff productivity. These things don't just make care better, they save serious money too.
And it strikes me too, a strong QI strategy tied to business goals.
Yeah.
Maybe it acts like an early warning system for problems down the road.
That's a really good point, yeah. By actively looking at quality and safety through this sort of aligned lens, you're basically spotting and dealing with potential risks much sooner.
Mm-hmm.
That could be anything from, avoiding lawsuits to making sure you're meeting regulations, protecting the hospital's reputation. Stopping these things before they blow up saves a ton of headaches and cash, and it protects the whole institution long term.
So it's about being proactive, preventative, not just, firefighting when things go wrong. And lastly, it sounds like bringing QI into the business strategy can also make the internal culture stronger.
Exactly. When everyone sees quality improvement as a core part of the mission and directly linked to overall success, it helps build a culture where quality really matters to everyone at every level.
Right.
This can really lift staff morale, give people a stronger sense of, okay, what I do matters, Accountability, too. People get more engaged when they see how their work fits into that bigger picture.
Okay, so we get why this alignment is so critical. Now, the practical bit.
Yeah.
How does an organization actually do this? It's easy to say link QI to strategy, but what are the actual steps?
Well, the first thing, the absolute foundation, is getting a really deep, solid understanding of the business strategy itself. What are the big goals? What's the mission, the vision? And critically, what are the KPIs, the key performance indicators? Those numbers the organization uses to track success.
And what sort of KPIs are we usually talking about in a hospital setting?
Oh, all sorts. You got your financial stuff like profit margins, revenue, market share, how much of the local patient population are they serving, patient satisfaction scores. Obviously, the whole patient experience piece is huge.
Yeah.
Employee engagement, staff turnover, Those tell you a lot about the health of the organization, and then, of course, all the metrics around cost control and how efficiently things are running.
Okay, so once you've got a really clear picture of the strategy and how success is measured, what's the next step for aligning the QI work?
The next logical thing is to set really clear, specific quality improvement goals that tie directly back to those business outcomes you just identified. And ideally, these QI goals should be SMART. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That really helps make them effective.
Can you give us a sort of concrete example, like how a QI goal links straight to a business outcome?
Sure. Let's say a hospital's strategic goal is to improve the patient experience. Okay. A SMART QI goal linked to that might be reduce the average patient wait time in our outpatient clinics by 10% within the next 6 months. That's specific, measurable, seems achievable, it's relevant to patient experience, and it has a deadline.
Yeah, that makes the connection really clear. Okay, now what about getting everyone in the organization on board? Seems like this won't work if it's just dictated from the top down.
You nailed it. That's absolutely crucial. Getting leadership involved is key, but also all the other stakeholders. We're talking clinical staff, doctors, nurses, therapists, administrators, IT folks, the finance team, even getting patients involved sometimes. You need constant open communication to get that buy-in. Make sure everyone gets how the QI stuff helps the whole organization succeed.
So it's about building that shared purpose, making sure people see how their piece fits into the puzzle.
Precisely. And once you have that sort of collective agreement and energy, the next big step is prioritizing your QI projects. Because, let's face it, you can't fix everything at once. Not every idea for improvement is going to have the same strategic punch.
So how do you decide which QI projects get priority?
You really want to focus on the ones that have the best shot at moving the needle on those key strategic goals we talked about. Look for projects where you can actually measure the results clearly, track your progress, and ones that offer a good return on investment, whether that's saving money, making patients happier, or maybe helping expand into new service areas.
Feels like it needs to be very data-driven.
Totally. And that focus on data needs to carry through when you're actually doing the projects and tracking them. It's really important to get your key QI metrics right into those business dashboards that the leadership team looks at all the time.
Okay. So next to the finance numbers and market share, leaders are also seeing real-time data on patient satisfaction or readmission rates.
Exactly. That gives them the full picture of how the organization's doing. It shows the real impact of the QI work on the bottom line and overall success, and it lets them make decisions based on solid data right from the top.
Healthcare is so complex, so many different departments involved. How does collaboration across those departments fit into this alignment picture?
Cross-departmental collaboration isn't just nice to have, it's essential. You have to break down those traditional silos. You need teams that bring together people from clinical areas, operations, IT, finance. That way, your QI projects actually address the needs and perspectives from all across the organization. Like, if you're trying to improve patient flow, you absolutely need doctors, nurses, admin staff, and the IT people who manage the scheduling systems all working together on it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And things change so fast in healthcare. How do you make sure this alignment stays, relevant and effective over time?
Constant checking and being ready to adjust. That's key.
Yeah.
You need to regularly look at how well your QI efforts are actually helping meet the organization's business priorities, which might themselves be shifting.
Right.
As strategic goals change because of market conditions or whatever, your QI goals might need to tweak too, just to keep everything lined up.
Okay, so we've covered the why and the how of linking QI and business strategy. Now let's bring in those accreditation bodies we mentioned, JCI and NABH. What's their role in all this?
Well, accreditation bodies like JCI and NABH, they basically provide a ready-made framework, a set of standards, benchmarks that hospitals can use as a really solid foundation for their quality improvement work. JCI, Joint Commission International, is a huge player, globally operates in over 70 countries, accredited thousands of programs.
Wow.
Their whole mission is about enabling and sort of confirming the highest standards in healthcare quality and safety around the world. Their standards are the measuring stick organizations use to see how they're doing and where they need to improve. They even have specific international patient safety goals that hospitals have to work on. And interestingly, they have this Unify 2025 thing, which looks like it's about getting everyone globally to collaborate more on quality improvement.
So JCI kind of provides an international blueprint for quality.
Pretty much, yeah. Rigorous, globally accepted standards. And then in India specifically, You have NABH, the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals and Healthcare Providers. They're part of the Quality Council of India, and their job is to set up accreditation programs and quality benchmarks specifically for the Indian healthcare scene.
Okay.
Their goal is meeting the needs of Indian patients, and they operate independently.
We mentioned earlier several hospitals, Hong Kong Adventist, Burjeel Farha, Emirates Specialty, Corniche. They all make a point of highlighting their JCI Gold Seal of approval.
Huh.
What's the strategic value of getting that kind of accreditation from a business angle?
Getting accredited, especially with something well-known like the JCI Gold Seal, it's a really powerful, visible signal that the organization is serious about quality and patient safety.
Uh-huh.
That can give you a real edge in the market. It builds community trust, makes people feel confident in the care you provide. It also helps the hospital manage risks better, and it really embeds that culture of safety inside the organization.
So it's definitely more than just a badge. It has real business benefits affecting reputation and maybe even the bottom line.
Exactly. And we also saw that consultancy, Supreme Medic, they actually help hospitals get through the NABH accreditation process, which can be pretty complex.
Right.
That just shows there's practical help out there for organizations trying to meet these tough quality standards. These consultants can help with everything, from planning and facility design right through to training staff and setting up the quality systems.
Okay, so the accreditors set the standards, and places like Supreme Medic help hospitals get there. How does this all tie back to the main theme, aligning QI with business strategy?
Well, accreditation itself becomes a strategic asset. It boosts the hospital's reputation, which, like we said, is vital for attracting patients.
Yeah.
It can also make a big difference in recruiting and keeping top doctors and nurses.
Yeah.
Basically, getting and keeping that accreditation is a concrete way to show value and build trust with patients, the community, staff, all things that are essential for a successful healthcare business.
Let's switch gears a bit and think about some real-world examples. How does this alignment actually play out in different scenarios?
Okay, let's say a hospital has a strategic goal to grow its patient base in a certain part of town. How could QI help? Well, they might focus QI projects on making access easier for people in that area. Maybe better appointment systems, more convenient clinic hours.
Mm-hmm.
They could work on reducing wait times because that really boosts patient experience and gets people talking positively in that community. QI projects focusing on, say, communication tailored to that demographic would directly help achieve that business expansion goal.
That's a great example. What about the constant pressure to cut costs?
Yeah, right. In that case, QI efforts would likely zoom in on operational efficiency. Think about projects specifically designed to cut down preventable hospital readmissions. Those are super expensive.
Yeah.
Or streamlining the whole supply chain to cut waste. Maybe optimizing how expensive resources are used, especially in places like the operating rooms. Those would be prime targets for strategically aligned QI.
And what if a hospital really wants to be known for being patient-centered? That's their core strategy.
If being patient-centered is central to their strategy, then their QI work should naturally focus on things that directly improve the patient experience. That might mean projects to boost patient satisfaction scores based on feedback, or really digging into patient complaints to find systemic issues.
Okay.
And fundamentally, building a culture where the patient's needs and preferences are always front and center.
Yeah.
So initiatives on better communication between staff and patients, getting patients more involved in their own care decisions, making the environment more comfortable, that's where the QI focus would be.
We also saw mentions of specific frameworks and tools that organizations can use to help with this alignment. Can you give us a quick rundown of some of those?
Sure. There are quite a few established methods out there. The Balanced Scorecard is one. It's a strategic management tool that helps link goals across different areas: financial, customer, internal processes, and learning growth. Keeps things balanced. Ocean Connery is another planning method focused on getting strategic goals deployed down through the whole organization, making sure everyone's activities line up. Then you have process improvement approaches like Lean and Six Sigma. They give you structured ways to cut waste, streamline work, reduce errors, which hits those efficiency goals. The PDCA cycle plan, do, check, act. That's a simpler, ongoing loop for continuous improvement. And finally, tech is huge. Clinical decision support systems help with evidence-based care, and dashboards and analytics give you the data you need to track everything and spot where to focus improvement efforts.
So there's definitely a whole toolkit available to help organizations put these ideas into practice.
Exactly. The trick is for each place to figure out which tools and frameworks fit best with their own culture and how they operate to really make this alignment between quality improvement and business strategy work well for them.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. To kind of wrap it all up, what are the absolute must-know takeaways for our listener who wants to make sure their QI work is really helping their organization succeed?
Okay, the core ideas really come down to this. First, really understand your organization's big strategic goals. Second, set clear, smart QI goals that directly help achieve those business outcomes. Third, get leadership and everybody else involved, stakeholders across the board, invested in the QI process. Create that shared ownership.
Right.
Fourth, prioritize the QI projects that are going to have the biggest strategic impact and give you a measurable return. Fifth, make sure your key QI numbers are right there on the regular business dashboard so everyone sees them. Accountability. Sixth, push for collaboration across departments, break down those silos. And finally, remember, this isn't a one-and-done thing. You have to keep checking, keep evaluating, and be ready to adjust your QI focus as business needs change.
So it's really about changing how we think about QI, not as this separate thing, but as a core engine driving the organization towards its long-term goals and making sure it succeeds sustainably.
Precisely. It's understanding that great patient care and a successful business aren't opposing forces. They're
Yeah.
actually, deeply connected, totally linked.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you, our listener, to mull over. Think about the specific strategic goals that are top of mind right now for your healthcare organization. How well do your current quality improvement activities actually line up with those priorities? And maybe what's one concrete step, just one thing you could do starting today to help close any gaps you see between the two?
That's a really powerful question to ask. And, for anyone wanting to learn more about quality improvement globally, it's worth knowing ISQA, the International Society for Quality in Healthcare, has its big conference coming up in Sao Paulo in October 2025. That could be a great place to connect with others and go deeper on these ideas.
Absolutely. It's all about that continuous journey, always learning, always trying to improve. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive. We really hope you'll explore these concepts further and think about how they apply in your own work.